So what percentage of the toilets have water?
So today, if you look at public standposts, about 56% of the rural population have access to piped water supply through public standposts. If you look at house connections, it's only 18%. And that's the big challenge. And that's why the Prime Minister has announced the Jal Jeevan mission. And again, it's a big idea. It's a big disruptive idea where to go from 18% of households in rural India which have tap connections to 100% in 5 years. And we're going to get it done. We are holding regional workshops. And this program, unlike earlier programs, will focus on 3 things. It will focus on what Mr. Senath was talking about, which is source sustainability. So the idea is not to build a large infrastructure of pipes and there's no groundwater, because 50 to 60% of the schemes will still depend on groundwater. So how do you recharge? How do you use rainwater harvesting? All that will be mandatory. And then the reuse of grey water. Because when you provide piped water supply to 100% of the households, an awful lot of water will come out as grey water from the kitchen and bathing. And how do you treat that? Use it again for recharging and also for agriculture. So this is an end-to-end program. It's going to be put on.
This is the Nal Se Jal program that you're talking about.
This is the Nal Se Jal program, exactly.
No, but I mean, we'll come to that. I think Sainath was also referring to the real crisis, which was farmland, water cropping, and the fact that he mentioned that you're using sugarcane, growing sugarcane in drought areas. Now, one of the main things is farm efficiency of use of water, and India figures very, very low of that in that thing. I think out of 123 countries, we're somewhere 120 in the ranking of that. If you look at a country like Israel that really has micro-irrigation, and it's, it is a water shortage country, and yet it is able to harvest its water. Whereas if you look at Indian statistics in terms of micro-irrigations, barely 8 to 10% of our farms. What is the revolution that the Jal Shakti ministry is planning? Can it do it, or is it a lot of hot talk that goes on this?
No, absolutely. So about 89 or 90% of water is used by agriculture. And clearly, we need more efficiencies in terms of water usage and using less water-intensive crops. There's no doubt about that. And that shift is already taking place. You're right, in terms of drip irrigation, we don't use too much of that. But how do you change the behavior of farmers? And you have to do it through incentives, right? It can't be done by fiat. So the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is currently underway, where we have over 1,200 officers, senior officers of the Government of India, they're focusing on water conservation, awareness, and understanding from farmers, rather than talking to farmers, what do they need to shift? So what does it take to get a farmer to shift from sugarcane to millet and to use less water-intensive crops? So we are learning through this process. I think the main thing is there's very strong political will now to shift the agenda, to make us more efficient, and the integration of water, which has taken place under the Jal Shakti Mantralaya, institutional integration, this needs to go further. And we are working closely with agriculture, we're working closely with watershed development, and we're working closely with urban. Because as you mentioned, all those pictures in urban areas, the non-revenue water or water losses in many of our cities, are upwards of 30%. If you look at the Jerusalem utility, Hagikon, their non-revenue water is less than 10%. So there's a big scope for more efficiencies, for demand-side management. And I think that step 1 was integrating water. It's very much on the agenda, and now we need to look at it in a holistic manner.